Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul joined alongside Jack Weinberger, Robert Ziggy Ziegler at the University of Virginia, and Zack Bloomquist, the best executive producer in the game with a camera on him. And it's pretty funny, the angle that we have here for Zack. Hey, Zack, show yourself one more time.
People can see the real star on the Zack cam too.
Hey, people are calling for it.
That's how we see Ziggy on this little television in front of us. So you get a little bit of a behind the scenes look. And yeah, Ziggy.
And then there's how Zack sees Ziggy as well, right? You can see it right there.
The more that we, oh, you're right. That's a good point. Yeah. The more that Ziggy's on camera, the better I would say for this show. You can't go wrong with Robert Ziegler.
Oh, you mean Ziggy?
Or both. The two Z's.
The two Z's. Z squared. What is Z? What's the area formula? It's pi r or pi z squared.
Oh God!
Oh, it's pi r
squared.
It's pi r squared. All right, never mind. Scratch that.
I love how Jack's like brand on this show is just it's slowly falling off for you.
You know, we're cutting that. We're gonna cut that.
It's actually, I think it's good. It gives you more leeway. You could say anything you want, and they're just like, what does he know? He doesn't know. Like, there's a degree of complete incompetence that you could get to where you could say anything you want.
I might be at that point already.
But okay. So this weekend was pretty active for the show. Zack and I were home, grinding out draft content. Ziggy was in Denver. Ziggy, you said your speech went overwhelmingly.
The talk went pretty well. It's you get a group of philosophers.
Ziggy was giving a speech in Denver when you were drunk at 8 a.m. Ziggy was speaking to a group of philosophers in Denver.
What? I didn't know that.
Yeah, what do you think I was doing in Denver? I'm not traveling to Denver at the end of the semester for something else.
I thought you were actually I don't know, visiting the Rockies or
No, I was there to work.
No, Ziggy was speaking to people. It's very, very smart people.
I thought you were actually go and cover the Broncos.
I saw. We'll see. I'll give you some insights on what Broncos fans thought about this draft as we get into our reactions.
Were you nervous at all in this? How many people are you speaking in front of, roughly?
About 10, half the conference.
Nice.
These philosophy talks, you don't get a lot of people showing up to them.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day,
was I nervous? Not really. I was prepared. I was right.
Did you kind of leeway it into Bo Nix reaction midway through?
Oh yeah, no, it's in Q&A. They got a nice little example of some NFL teams. It was good. No one knew anything what I was talking about.
I bet every single person you spoke to in Denver thought that they were in the Midwest at that moment.
Yeah. Here we go again.
We're not doing this.
You have no idea how big of a debate we had in a group chat.
What do you mean a debate?
No, it was.
Look it up.
We don't need to get
48% of people in America think it's the Midwest.
So Jack, and before we dive, so today what we're going to be doing, we're going to be doing NFL draft winners. Then we're going to take a look at some of the questionable calls that were made during the draft, a few of the head scratchers, or at least what the media is calling the head scratching picks of round one. We'll go over the Falcons, we'll go over the Broncos and the Raiders with Brock Bowers. And then we'll end with an NFC North recap as we hit most of our target audience there at the end of the show. That's where we make our real money here. Before we get into that, though, Jack, I did want to ask you, because Ziggy had a great trip in Denver.
We forgot about the bet.
The bet?
The bet? No.
What are you talking about, Zack?
No.
Zack, please talk in the microphone. And throw yourself on camera.
No. I wanted to put this out there in the beginning.
Please, throw yourself on the camera, please. We have produced midway through the show.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah. We have a little shtick for the Packers fan.
No idea where you're going here.
Yeah, you know exactly where I'm going with this. If we could get to 50 members.
Oh yeah, Zack made up. Yes, so Zack made up this thing. If we get to 50 members, I'll do another episode in the Jordan Love jersey, which I really don't want to do that again. But yeah, Zack is texting us today. He's like, all right, Paul, how about 50 members? You go in Jordan Love. So yes. If
we've got 10, we're a fifth of the way there.
We have 10 right now. So yes, if people want to become a member, you could go to our main channel page and you can become a member there with just one or two clicks, I believe. Yeah. And it helps out the show. And at some point in the near future, we're going to be having perks for members, maybe special episodes. The idea was floated around once of Jack and I just slowly getting destroyed on an episode and seeing it when Ziggy loses his mind and leaves the Zoom call.
I mean, I'm still destroyed right now. I've been destroyed since Wednesday night.
Membership, yes. Okay, if we get to 50, I will wear the Jordan Love jersey again against my will, but I will do that. Good call, Zack. Nice call there. Great screen presence as always.
Thank you.
So, Jack, I did want to ask you though. The Nashville, it sounded like an unbelievable trip.
It was the best weekend of my entire life.
Okay.
Like dead serious. We're recording now. What is it? It's about 8 p.m. Eastern time. on Monday. I just sobered up 3 hours ago.
You blew a .02.
So I was from about Wednesday night until 3 hours ago, I was not sober. You guys are watching the draft. I was dancing at Luke Bryan's with girls around my shoulder. I mean, it was the time of my life. You know, you wake up Thursday, 11 in the morning, we go on a pedal bike tour. We're playing drinking games, pedaling around the Broadway. The bars are bumping. They got live bands all over the place. You come back, power nap, go back out at night.
Jack sent some pictures. He looks so disheveled. I saw odds. He's still alive.
Aldean's bar, FGL house. I mean, crawling with beautiful women. I met a girl at Vanderbilt Friday night.
Oh my God.
Then I watched the Vandy baseball game with her Saturday. Had a great time. I mean, it was the food.
Did she subscribe to the show?
She did.
Oh no.
She
might hear this.
Barbecue food was great. I mean, it was.
Could this be the one?
We'll see.
Wow.
But it was an unbelievable trip. I was so upset to go home. Like we were screwing all around the city.
Now, talking about the NFL draft. Yeah. And look, maybe that girl is going to watch this episode and say this is a special guy.
I was drinking at noon on a Thursday, on a Friday. I'm like, this is
the difference.
You know, I see my students doing this, and I don't know. It doesn't seem to end too well for me. I'm glad it worked out for you.
I'm like, this is the life. And then like once Friday ended, we still had 2 more days. I'm like, this is amazing. But it went by too fast.
And now here
the nightlife there was I can't even describe it. I mean, it was you got to see it for yourself.
Well, it's good to have you back, and we're glad that you're.
I'm not happy to be back.
We're happy you're all in one piece.
Also, I want to tell our fans too. So I'm trying to go back this upcoming weekend because Morgan Wallen's playing in Nissan Stadium
this weekend.
Yes. So I have to be there. I was there a week before he plays, of course. My Venmo's at Jack Weinberger -2.
No, absolutely not.
No one sent this sent over.
I'm kidding. Oh, wait a minute. Now for the story that you wanted to hear.
Oh, all right.
I did this, and then you'll like this too, Ziggy.
All right, keep this moderate.
It's quick, and it's moderate. It's not inappropriate. It's for the sake of the show.
Okay.
So we're sitting in Kid Rock's bar one late afternoon, early evening, with a couple of married women.
Oh my God!
But I see two people in Green Bay Packers gear. Okay.
I have no idea where this is going.
I see a husband and a wife wearing Green Bay Packers gear standing by the bathroom. So I take my shot. I'm like, I'll be right back. I go to the bathroom and I ask them, you guys are Packers fans, obviously.
Astute observation.
And he's like, oh, it makes you say that. And then I'm like, well, are you guys from Green Bay? And then the husband's like, yeah, we are. I'm like, do you happen to know the Paul Farrington show? And he said, I do not. But I have buddies who have talked about that. That's awesome. And then I said, I'm a host. And you can ask anybody on the trip with all my friends were there. They were laughing too. And I said, I'm a host on that show. Like this year, I pulled it up, showed it to him, and he hit the subscribe button.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that was.
You've been doing a good job promoting the show.
So you're doing a good job. I love how you open that story and like we're sitting with 2 married women. Like that had nothing to do with the story.
They both subscribed too, by the way. They both subscribed also.
Nothing to do with the story.
I was down in Nashville and I got about 10 people to subscribe.
All right. So he was active recruiting from Jack. Well, all right, Jack. We'll clap it. Well done.
But it was
there were 2 married women. Like,
it was the trip.
Anything to do
the
with
trip
the story?
was a 10 out of 10. I got this visor. I haven't taken it off in like 5 days. Like the visor, Ziggy.
There's going to be somebody in the comments with some comment like the real video starts at 15 minutes.
Yeah. We're confirming also. Jack's not a home record. He was just sitting with Mary.
Yeah. I'm not. Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on.
Let's dive in. Let's dive in.
Kid Rock's wreck by that fan was a good wreck. Good bar.
Oh yeah, someone did recommend that. All right, so Jack, why don't we go to you first here with NFL draft? So what we're going to start off with here are draft day winners. And then we'll move on to the questionable picks.
The man who was blacked out. We're going to him first.
The man was blacked out.
The man who didn't see the draft. But we're going in first. I did my research. Yeah, I did my research. I know what I'm talking about.
So who do you have? Who's your draft day winner?
My draft, I had 2. Can I have those 2 or do you want one?
I'd love both of them.
So totally unbiased, I'm going with the Steelers.
A lot of people are saying Pittsburgh. Not surprising from you, but
then I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I'll start with the Steelers here. Troy, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. It's like Fatanu. Yeah, Fatanu. I liked him a lot at 20. The offensive line, especially now with 2 new quarterbacks in, Russ and Justin Fields.
Mhm.
The offensive line had to improve. That's a solid first round pick. I think we were very happy when he was there at 20. Then in the second round, to get the center from West Virginia, Zach Frazier, another big guy up front.
Big guy, like a 6'3", 310.
Yeah, 6'3", 310, another big guy up front. Big 12 dude. And then to get Roman Wilson, a national champion wide receiver in the third round, who will probably start in the slot week 1.
It was it. So we're looking right now at the Steelers depth chart. George Pickens, Van Jefferson, and Calvin Austin are currently, this is just going to ESPN. They're currently the leaders on the depth chart. But yeah, you're right. It was pretty smart of Pittsburgh. Your defense is good. Like, everyone knows your defense is great.
The biggest need, especially the two new QBs right now, was the offensive line. Mm-hmm. And to get those two big guys in the first 2 rounds, I thought it was great. 2
starters, right? Probably.
I would assume so.
Yeah.
And then over to Kansas City, I mean, they traded the pick with Buffalo, right? And we've seen this before. And they take a receiver who broke the record at the NFL Combine out of Texas.
What are they around 4-2-1?
Xavier Worthy, 4-2-1. And he just screams Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, run deep, I'll hit you. And
but Xavier Worthy's not really a deep threat. If you watched how he played at Texas, I know sometimes he wasn't giving them the ball quite right, but he was not at his best running deep.
But you could use him any.
But whatever route he wants to run, Mahomes is running the ball. It's just he's like Tyreek Hill.
Did you not like that pick, Ziggy?
I think it was a fine pick. They gave up even value to move up and take him. I think it made sense. Seeing Xavier Worthy talked about as a deep threat, nobody was talking about him like this until he ran a 4.21 because his game tape does not suggest that's the guy he is. But that's okay, right? There are plenty of archetypes you can fit in the NFL.
But also, like the main reason the Chiefs are big winners is because you have him now with Patrick Mahomes.
When they got
I'm not saying I love him, but I think him with Mahomes and his Chiefs offense, he's
like Sky Moore, right? You just put anyone with Patrick Mahomes, they'll be good.
Well, I think Xavier Worthy is better than Sky Moore.
I like Xavier Worthy. I was thinking every time I watched the Texas game, it seemed like he was making a big play.
I don't know who Sky Moore was. Worthy's one of the best receivers in the.
And what was Sky Moore? 3rd round pick?
Yeah.
Or was he? Where was?
He was in the second
round. I like the Xavier Worthy pick. So circle back real quick to Pittsburgh here. Ziggy, did you agree? Did you like the Steeler draft here, addressing the offensive line and then going receiver? And even Peyton Willis, the linebacker out of NC State, for a weak linebacker class, a lot of people thought that he was one of the better linebackers, perhaps the best in the entire draft. Did you walk away thinking the Steelers nailed this as much as other people did?
I think it was a pretty good. Draft. Here's what it's going to turn on is whether Fotanu is actually able to play tackle at the NFL level or not. Obviously, in college he was at tackle and at guard, and he looked good at tackle in college, but we've seen plenty of times where a guy's good at both in college, but just because of the requirements to play tackle in the NFL, you end up moving inside. If what they took in the first couple of rounds was a guard and a center, I think that would be disappointing. But even then, the Steelers desperately need an offensive line. They need guys that are going to be able to protect their quarterbacks, particularly Russell Wilson, who just keeps taking hits.
Yeah.
So, yeah, look, it's a draft that makes sense, right? They got players it needs. It's what you want.
He's a bull. Everyone talks about Penix and Penix and Rome, the receiver. I don't know his last name. I do say, yeah. Look who's up front blocking for the man. Giving him
this is if you go back and watch the Washington tape, what you will be certain is not that Penix is a hit, but that these Washington offensive linemen are hits.
They give him the time, and he gets space.
Well, and think about it too for Russ. You mentioned how much Russ has been getting hit over the past few seasons, especially when he was in Denver. The AFC North, of all the divisions in football, the AFC North is not forgiving. There's Hendrickson with the Bengals. You have Myles Garrett. The Ravens defense is always going to be good. So I think it's a great move for Pittsburgh to finally go after a position in need or positions in need on that offense when the defense has been so good. And it's weird seeing, like, when we grew up, a lot of when we were younger, great defense, great offense with Roethlisberger. Then they transitioned into that phase where it was really just like running gun air raid offense in Pittsburgh for a few years, and the defense struggled.
I loved it.
Then we kind of switched back now, and the offense stumbled, and the defense was good again. I feels like this might be the closest the Steelers have come to having a complete offense and defense. We'll see if it has to work out with Russ first, but they're finally getting back on track with the offense to compete in the AFC, where you need to put up points. And I think this was a great move from them. So yeah, Pittsburgh, a lot of people like their draft. Glad that you as a fan approved of that. Ziggy, would you like to go, or do you like me to take the second?
Can I pick a winner that's not exactly a single team?
Ziggy, you know what? You are welcome to do whatever.
Do whatever you want to do. We paid you the big bucks.
I had a winner profile before the show started, but I'm changing as I think about it more. Here's who the real winner of this draft is: just the entire NFC North and NFC North rivalry games. I mean, you look at the teams; every single team in the NFC North, it feels like addressed all the needs they wanted to before the draft starts. What were the Lions thinking? They were thinking our secondary is terrible. We need to upgrade it right away. You get Terry and Arnold out of Alabama, obviously exciting. A few other cornerbacks and safeties of some note. So like the secondary, hopefully, if just one or two of those guys pans out, it's going to be pretty good. The Packers, what are you thinking? We need some guys on defense, and we could use another offensive lineman. Boom, you get Jordan Morgan, Javon Bullard, Edgerrin Cooper, a lot of exciting guys to make things better in Green Bay. I don't want to talk too much more about it because it makes me miserable. But Chicago, they didn't do anything unsurprising. But if you ask Bears fans, what did we need last year? The answer is a quarterback. They got a quarterback. Then you think, okay, well, what could that quarterback use? He could use a skill position player. You get Rome Odunze out of Washington. Mm-hmm. And then the Vikings, what did we need? We needed an elite guy on the edge and a cornerback. While I don't like the price we paid to get both those guys, you have to be excited about adding McCarthy and Turner in a draft. So I think in terms of interdivisional games, last year I had the AFC North written down as the division to watch where every single game in that division would be good. And for the most part, that turned out true. This year, I think it's the NFC North.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more. And we're going to have, at the end of the show, we're going to go through each team a little bit more thoroughly. But on draft night in particular, I sat here. I almost did an entire NFC North reaction because I thought they owned the first round of the draft. And now they went on to have good, second, third, fourth, and onward selections. But I really thought in that first round, the NFC North dominated Thursday night. And it was just cool to sit back. At the same time, it's a little disheartening because as we're two of us are Vikings fans, so you don't want to see home run picks, but there were a lot of home run picks in the NFC North in this draft that just continues to improve at a pretty rapid pace. Well, we'll hold off a little bit because we're going to talk about them later.
Yeah, I just wanted to. I think in terms of just the winners, those rivalry games are going to be so.
Oh, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing football next year, and the Vikings. I'm hoping we can hang in there. That division is just getting really good. My winner, I'm actually going to get, and I'm so damn tired of seeing this on draft day. I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles, who once again, Howie Roseman is called a genius by so many people. Everyone's always calling him a brilliant drafter. And I have to acknowledge, he does a great job on draft night. But at the same time, it's like, okay, you have these superstars falling to you every single year. I think Howie Roseman just does the obvious thing in the room and says, oh, you know what, Jalen Carter is really good. Maybe we should move up a spot here and go get him. Like that guy, I think that guy's going to be good, the number one rated prospect. And it's just been a few years of this now where you look at the draft board and all of a sudden Philly's on the clock. You go, how the hell is that guy still there? And they do the right thing by taking him. And this year that wound up being at pick 22, Quinion Mitchell, the cornerback out of Toledo, who a lot of people, it started off as Terry and Arnold being the number one cornerback, but a lot of people wound up flipping that and putting Mitchell as their number one cornerback in the class. I couldn't believe. I was doing reaction videos and my dad's just like, oh, Eagles took Mitchell. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, how do they continue to get away with this? And then on day two, they go ahead, trade up and get Cooper DeJean as well. So for the Eagles, who are aging in the secondary with Bradbury and Slice, struggled a lot last year. The rest of the draft was fine, but I'm really looking at those first two picks to walk away with two of the top 5 cornerbacks in the draft when really they shouldn't have even been there. I potentially even not even be there for the first pick. I thought Philly walked away a huge winner with the secondary.
I mean, especially DeJean at 40 in the second round. I mean, he was all of our pick a couple weeks back to be the Packers pick at 25?
Yeah.
And then I remember I brought up the fact that I loved the kid from the Quinion Mitchell as well as potential Packers pick at 25, but was like, no way he's going to be there.
Oh, we thought he'd be going at 12 or 13.
So yeah. Like in my eyes, he's the best corner in the draft, and DeJean's probably third behind second or third, and a secondary who was pretty bad last year. Defense took a huge hit. And you get two good young corners in spots that they probably shouldn't have fallen to. Feels like an Eagles thing. This is an A+ draft at the first 2 rounds, at least for me.
Yeah, it's when players fall, there's always a reason.
Mhm.
Like players who fall tend to not do substantially better than other players picked at similar draft spots. But here's the thing about Howie Roseman that's just good is Jeff Lurie, the owner of the Eagles, kind of just lets him do whatever he wants. And that kind of freedom is liberating because it means that you don't have to make these really ridiculous trades up to try and maximize value to save your job. Howie knows that as long as he keeps doing the right thing, he's going to be able to be around in Philadelphia for a long time. So when you get these opportunities to get pretty ridiculous deals trading down or relatively good deals trading up, it doesn't always work, right? Like Jordan Davis, they gave a ton to get him. And, he's not terrible, but maybe not all you were hoping for.
I'm just saying, he's good against the run.
Yeah, no, indeed. But like with what they had to give to move up to 15 for him, right? They can't be super happy of how that turned out. But the point is just, even though he's not perfect, the fact that he can have that job security, like you say, he does sort of the obvious thing. But the reason other NFL GMs don't do the obvious thing isn't because they're stupid, unless they're like Tom Telesco. It's because they know that if they don't get their maximum value this year, they might be out the door.
Mm-hmm. And for Philly, what scares me about these selections is the problem last year. The offense did falter, but the defense really fell apart. And we've said so many times on this show how scary of a place Philadelphia was to go into. You go into the Link 2 years ago, and that defense was going to shut you down.
They're going to lose by 30.
And it's just, last year, just the wheels started to fall off for the Eagles. If these guys can come in and Mitchell will probably get to the point where he's starting. DeJean might even be a safety because now they have a lot that like the depth in the secondary is awesome now. But that D-line, get that D-line going again. That you have some young guys there now who will be coming into their own. If the Philadelphia defense, if those young guys can turn it on, I have no doubts that Hurts, AJ Brown, Saquon, and Devontae Smith are going to be able to get going. All of a sudden, we could be looking up in week 5 or 6 and Philly's 5-0 again, and we're going, oh geez, is this going to be another Super Bowl caliber season for Philly?
And also the pick of the draft for them too in round 4, the 32-year-old Will Shipley. I was waiting for him to finally get drafted. I guess this was the year.
Will Shipley was he's supposed to go to Notre Dame at one point. He was everyone thought he was going to go to the Irish, and then he backed off and went to Clemson. He was fine. I thought Shipley was a fine.
We never secure the bag.
Yeah, we never do. We never do. But yeah, so there you go. The Eagles were my winner. And one more quick one I want to say. I actually do think that the Patriots are draft day winners. More so just and then you can look at their whole draft, but they did the right thing at 3, and they took Drake May, the potential superstar. They could have easily bit on all the bait and taken whatever trade the Vikings or the Giants were offering them. It looks like those were the 2 teams trying to trade up. But I really thought that passing on Drake May would have been something they would look back on in 3 years or 2 years even and go, what were we doing there? Build your team around the quarterback. Don't build your team and then find the quarterback. You need to have the guy before you can do anything. So I think they were winners in my eyes just from actually picking the QB instead of waiting for another few years.
Yeah, I mean, they were waiting to see if a team was going to offer them something truly ridiculous. I think it's possible that the Raiders wanted to move up. It's certainly possible. Apparently, the Falcons were interested in quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So who knows? But they didn't get the offer they were looking for. They kind of like, we're going to give you 3 first-round picks, 3 second-round picks. So I think they made the right choice.
Would you have been upset if the Vikings had traded 4 first-round picks, 11, 23 in the next 2 years for Drake May?
4 first-round picks is just a lot, especially when you can get a prospect who I think is substantially worse, but without giving up any future first-round picks. Indeed, it was just 1 first-round pick for J.J. McCarthy. So you ask me at the price, 1 first for J.J. or 4 firsts for Drake May, I'm probably taking my odds of J.J. McCarthy. 3 is where I would have drawn the line. Okay. And my guess is that's where the Vikings drew the line too.
When are you guys getting your JJ to JJ gear?
Oh, we have it. I'll flash it up. We have that shirt on our store right now. We have a JJ to JJ shirt.
Do we really?
Look,
of course we do.
Oh yeah, on Paul Farrington show.
Oh, I'm gonna get that's fantastic.
Yeah, on paulfarringtonshow.com right now. You could go over to our merch store and take a look. Let me see if I can pull this up here.
JJ to JJ.
It comes in this really awesome purple.
I like that. The little handshake in the middle.
Yeah, it's an arrow, but
yeah, I thought
it looks like a plane almost. I'd like to make it a football. We could get our graphic designer on that. But yeah, we have a JJ to JJ shirt.
JJ will be wide open and JJ will miss him.
JJ on the left side, right, Ziggy?
Something like that.
JJ wide open, underthrown.
Okay, so let's go on to some of the head scratchers here, and we'll stick with the first round. We'll stick with the big names. I reacted to a couple of these, but I think it'd be good if everyone got to hear how you guys are feeling about this. And I can see this going a little bit off the rails given some of the conversations that we've had. But we'll start off. There were 3 picks really in the opening round that I think people were scrutinizing. The first one, the one that everyone is going crazy about, is Michael Penix at 8. Now, it seems there were reports that maybe Seattle wanted to trade up. Those have since been denied. The Raiders clearly wanted Michael Penix. There was actually an agreement. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Sean Payton said there was an agreement between the Vikings, Raiders, and Broncos where they figured out that the Vikings wanted McCarthy, the Raiders wanted Penix, and the Broncos wanted Bo Nix. After the Giants took Neighbors, they got on a conference call and Sean Payton basically said, guys, let's not go crazy trying to trade up and go past each other. These are the 3 guys we want. And they all agree. There was almost like this little truce between the 3 of them before the Falcons went and took Penix at 8 and everything got thrown. And that's why the Vikings were trading up. That's why the Broncos were looking to. He said it was a crazy 10 to 20 minutes.
Oh, so the Raiders wanted Penix.
The Raiders wanted Penix.
I don't even know this.
Oh, yeah. No. I just this is all coming out recently, but the Broncos, Vikings, and Raiders had a truce there. And it all got screwed up by Michael Penix going at 8 to the Falcons, which really no one saw coming until I think Rappaport said during the draft, he's like, Michael Penix is in play here. Don't be surprised if he's the name that's turned in. So when you found out, we'll go to you first, Jack, because you were the one initially who had the Falcons doing something ridiculous. You had them taking Brock Bowers. Now,
Hey, look at the Raiders.
oh, no, I understand.
Two good tight ends, Mayer and Bowers.
We'll get there. But with Michael Penix to Atlanta, when you first saw that, what was your initial reaction?
My initial reaction was, well, I was cross-eyed. No, okay.
His initial reaction was, who are the Falcons?
Yeah. Initial reaction was, wait, Atlanta's a football team? No, the initial reaction was, oh, that's kind of weird. They just paid Cousins a lot of money, and now they're taking Penix. But I mean, I've kind of come around to the other side now.
Oh,
and I don't hate it anymore. I mean, we're always talking about how it's so important to have a QB.
Mm-hmm.
Kirk Cousins is what, 36 years old, 35 years
35.
old. Yeah. So if he's out, what's your plan for the future? All right, now you get Michael Penix, a good first round quarterback. And everyone's going to be saying, oh, he'll start when he's 26, 27. Who cares? I mean, Rodgers sat behind Favre. Love sat behind Rodgers. Why not get your quarterback of the future?
If you love him.
Yeah, you like him a lot. Sit behind Cousins, who has, what, 2 years left? Then why not bring in Penix?
My guess is that Ziggy does not agree with that opinion.
So it's...
So he's 26 when he started.
I'm of 2 minds about this, right? So first, the Jordan Love comparison is really silly, right? Jordan Love is, he's like a year and a half older than Michael Penix. So there's certainly the age and history concern. And I worry about, Kirk Cousins as a guy, he likes being the big boss. He likes the security. This is why he's always gone for these fully guaranteed contracts. You are rocking the boat in a big way to the guy you just made a 2-year commitment to by drafting this guy behind him.
You're not.
Well, I mean, you just are.
It's not a competition. Penix, he's not the starting quarterback.
Kirk Cousins is no longer the undisputed leader of this team. Right, Kirk Cousins is no longer the guy. He's the guy until he has a bad game, and then we need to start Penix.
Kirk Cousins, or maybe had like string of games or seasons.
I think it's planning for the future.
But if you're planning, this is what I don't understand. Right, is planning for the future makes sense, but you don't have to go out and sign Kirk Cousins to a monster deal and then draft an old injury-prone quarterback behind him. Now, look, I don't think the pick's terrible, right? I'm not saying they shouldn't have done this. I'm saying that the 2 moves together of drafting Penix and signing Kirk Cousins to a huge deal don't go well together at all.
Well, Cousins even came out. Apparently, I think the quotes were frustrated and confused.
Well, I mean, the reason he left the Vikings is because we were going to draft a quarterback behind him, and he wanted to be the undisputed guy.
And he wants to win a Super Bowl. And you're sitting there with the 10th pick. And it's not like, we have to remember, Atlanta's done some questionable things with their first round picks over the past few years. Pitts, Bijan, people have looked at the Falcons drafts recently, and there's usually 2 camps. People love it or people hate it. But the thing is, when you're Kirk Cousins right now, I'm sitting back here thinking to myself, we had the 8th pick in the draft. There's a few holes on this defense, or there's some offensive play. Rome Odunze's there too. like we can help out by getting an impact player right now. And instead, it is similar to the Packers in that sense. The difference is the Packers were picking in the 20s when they made these selections. The Falcons were at 8, and they had a chance at, Dallas Turner was there. The corners were there. You had a Dunze. And to pass up on all those guys who can make an impact to win the Super Bowl right now, which is the goal of Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. I don't think anyone in Atlanta, no one in the front office in Atlanta would say the goal this season is anything short of a Super Bowl-esque run. That's why I think people are or would be frustrated. They say, okay, so we're just going to sit him, and like, why are we not investing in now when we just gave $140-60 million to Kirk?
Yeah, I get it. I get it on that side as well, and why Kirk would be confused. That all makes sense.
Well,
but
here's sort of the thing to think about, right?
Yeah.
There's 3 outcomes you can get with a rookie quarterback. One is they're no good. The second is they're decent. And the third is they're one of the best in the NFL, right? Those are sort of the 3 outcomes you can get. So, like, how does that actually play out? If they're terrible, they're terrible. It doesn't matter when you drafted them or for how long they sit. If they're not going to be good, they're probably not going to be good. If they were going to be decent, then you want to take advantage of that rookie contract window when you're not paying them a lot of money. And then you move on when it's time to sign to a big deal, or else you're stuck where like the Giants are with Daniel Jones, right? Like the Tua Dolphin years. Tua wasn't elite, but he was pretty good, and they were able to put a lot of good pieces around him, win a lot of games. And if they're elite, they're elite. It doesn't matter when you sort of start them. But by leaving Penix on the bench for a year and a half, 2 years, you're limiting those cheap, cost-controlled years. So you're really counting on him to be the elite guy. And it's just not likely he's going to become that, because it's not likely any quarterback's going to become that.
But look, what goes on in Atlanta's mind, in my eyes, is what has happened with teams like the Steelers when you have an old Big Ben, then your quarterback play stinks for the next 4 years. And the Giants, after Eli Manning, your quarterback play stinks for the next 5 years. And the Pats, after Tom Brady, your quarterback play stinks for the next 5 years. Why not take a quarterback who you think could be very good? And then when Kirk Cousins is aging and a fossil in a couple of years, you have Michael Penix.
I actually liked it. I actually
I don't think it's a bad pick at all. I came around. First I'm like, what the heck? But now I'm like, I like this pick.
No, I actually think I'm with you. Now, I have my own hesitations with Penix. I'm actually okay with the injury. He played all year at Washington. But yeah, no, I think you're right in that regard where Kirk will get over it. Kirk will eventually move.
Yeah, he's their starting QB. It's not like a competition.
No, but it's still not a great look that even before he's played a game, they're already showing like, okay, we're thinking about moving on from you.
35.
I think, yeah, no, he's 35. But I mean, I think it's bad to start off on that footing between the two, to not even talk to him about it. Or like he found out.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that.
I think they should have done that.
Yes.
But in terms of taking Penix, I actually think, Kirk is going to be a great mentor to have once he gets over it, which he will. He's making $160 million. Once he gets over it, I can't think of many better mentors for a young quarterback than Kirk Cousins. From the way he plays, from the way he studies, from the way he treats his teammates. And then onward from there, they did address the D line with the next 3 picks, around 2, 3, 4. Like Atlanta, they tried to salvage it. So I'm actually okay with the Penix pick. I do think if I were in that room, I probably would have gone with Dallas Turner or someone, but I wasn't sitting back going, wow, they're idiots. Like a lot of people are just calling them straight up idiots. And I don't think that's necessary.
No, I wish they had handled it a little bit more elegantly. And I wonder whether they did the offseason perfectly, but all things considered, it's not a bad pick. I think you're just limiting some of the upside. Yes. But look, if he's good, if he's that guy, I think unless you have that guy quarterback, you should be taking as many bites as he can reasonably get at that apple. Keep taking quarterbacks. Go ahead.
I think this might be one of the few shows, seriously, in the country that had almost unanimous support for the pick. Like, there's definitely, we have our issues.
Yeah, I mean,
which could be an issue, which could show that Atlanta really screwed up.
We got to get some Falcons fans in our comments here showing us praise.
Yeah.
We'll get him with this. Okay.
So, a couple picks later, someone who was interested in Michael Penix were the Las Vegas Raiders. They also had a very head-scratching pick by taking Brock Bowers at 13.
12-win season coming, baby.
Not that Brock Bowers is a bad prospect by any means. People had him as a top 5 player in the draft potentially. But, the position that he plays, and then given that when the Raiders were there at 13, I thought for sure we were going to see Terrion Arnold or Quinion Mitchell come off the board. Or, could have been another edge rusher. Like, no defensive players had been taken at that point. So I was really surprised, given that they already have Michael Mayer, that they actually went ahead and took Bowers there. Brock Bowers himself, see this here right here, Jack? He admits he was shocked the Raiders selected him. I'm not going to sit here and say the Raiders failed the draft or anything. Like some people hate this selection. He's a great player, so you can't get on him too much. But it was definitely a little bit of an eyebrow raiser where you're like, okay, like, was this really the guy? But you must have loved it.
Oh, and I was saying that's what the Falcons should have done.
Yeah. You were sitting there pounding the table for Brock.
Yeah, you had Kyle Pitts. I think to have two very solid tight ends is a luxury.
Mm-hmm.
We debated recently who the best tight end in the country is between Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers.
Now they're both
in the same team. And for a young quarterback too to have two massive huge security blankets.
Now, by young quarterback, what you mean, O'Connell, or do you mean like whoever they draft in the future?
Either one.
Okay.
Either one. To have a guy with both Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers, you can't have too many weapons. And I like the two tight end look. I seriously do. And I was getting heat in the comments for saying the Falcons do that. Well, I mean,
no, you were.
I mean, me and the Raiders GM, we have the same brain.
The Raiders have like the worst history of drafts. That was really funny. We're in our group chat and Jack's going like, you see, this is the right way of thinking. And Ziggy's like, yeah, because that's who you want to be compared to, the Raiders. But you know what? Like, Brock Bowers is a great player. So Ziggy, what did you think? You know, we had Jack who loved it. I accepted it.
I'm not going to say I loved it. Okay. I was a fan of it because I could, joke around about it. But no, I didn't hate it. That's fine.
Look, first of all, this means that they think Michael Mayer sucks and will never be a good NFL.
That was actually what I was wondering.
It's not quite trading Josh Rosen away after 1 year. But if you take a tight end early in the second round and then you immediately draft a guy to start over him, that means you think this Mike, after signing a big free agent, Harrison Bryant, again, not like the biggest name in the world, but a good tight end. This means they think Michael Mayer sucks and will never be a big producer. So the thought that they now have two really good tight ends is probably false. Setting that aside, maybe Mayer shows something. Maybe
I think Mayer will be a solid tight end.
I get why they didn't take a quarterback. They didn't want to trade up too much. I understand. But you had defensive players. You had tackles. The Bowers pick, it's just, look, he's a very good receiver, right? It is likely that Brock Bowers is, I shouldn't say likely. There's a good chance that Brock Bowers has a few seasons over 1,000 yards. That'd be like a very good career for him. If he has 5 seasons in his career where he goes over 1,000 yards, over 5 touchdowns. Is that really worth the number 13 overall pick when you've got holes on almost everywhere on the roster?
Mm-hmm.
It's tough for me to see it. I get that he's a special athlete. I get that this is a guy who can run really well. I know he didn't do some of the combine stuff I wanted, but he's probably athletic. But I worry about drafting a small tight end who can't block, who's not good for inline work. Like, you need him to be a great receiver. And if you look at what big-bodied slot receiver mismatch production is in the NFL, you don't need to use the number 13 overall pick on it.
Yeah, I would have gone with one of the corners or one of the linemen, because there were still no corners had been taken, and a lot of the good linemen were still on the board at that point. I think a lot of Raiders fans probably would have preferred that, but I
mean, people are just incredibly overconfident that Brock Bowers is going to turn out to be George Kittle. By the numbers, it's likely that Brock Bowers becomes barely an above average NFL tight end, even though he's a special prospect.
I mean, by the numbers, no one's supposed to be good, Ziggy.
Yeah, so this is why you shouldn't be overconfident and take guys at unimportant positions with early draft picks.
Like a running back.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
yes. Thank you.
Well, yeah. It's one.
But tight end is only a marginally better position than running back with respect to this. And the difference between the thing that tight end and running back have in common, if you look at the historical record, we are really bad at predicting who's going to be good at these positions. And indeed, I get that Brock Bowers is a special prospect, but a lot of the special tight end prospects have not been all that great. So I don't know. I'm not convinced this is a great pick. I don't really like it. I don't like doing this into interior offensive linemen. But hey, it's the Raiders are doing their thing. They're going to try and repeat what the Falcons did last year, where they just surround a bad quarterback with a bunch of weapons. And they're going to have similar results.
I actually think Gardner Minshew can be, if you give Gardner Minshew's in Vegas right now, he's probably going to be the quarterback next year. You give him Devontae Adams, Brock Bowers, Mayer, trying to remember who's Jacoby Myers is there. Like, that's a That's an acceptable offense. I actually think the Raiders are in a position where they won't absolutely suck. And the defense came on towards the end of last season. Like the Raiders might be a team that surprises people with how they play. But yes, I still think that in terms of the future of this team is not Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell. And is Brock Bowers really the best way to be competitive in 3 years? Probably not. But look, I can't complain too much if you get a top 5 overall prospect in most people's eyes.
I mean, I think a tight end is such a huge luxury to have.
Oh, it's great. It's great. And if he lives up to the hype, he'll be amazing. And
tight end is a great luxury to have. What the Raiders have done is they've put in central heating and cooling without building a roof.
But look like the Heath Millers, the Jimmy Grahams.
Well, I mean, I'm not. I'd be pissed. I think I'd be genuinely pissed off if Brock Bowers was just Heath Miller.
The Jason Wittens.
Yeah, if you get a Hall of Fame tight end out of Brock Bowers, you're happy with the pick.
Running back's useless. Tight end's not.
We could sit here and talk about running back, but we'll move on here to.
Well, look, I'm just saying, let's not forget Heath Miller is an above average outcome for a tight end taken in the first round.
Yeah, but if you're a Raider fan, you'd be furious if he's just.
Then you shouldn't be taking Brock Bowers in the first round. It's that simple.
But also, Brock Bowers, he's a different tight end than Heath.
Oh, Heath Miller was good.
No, Heath Miller was very good.
Heath Miller was very good.
I don't mean to diss Heath Miller. I'm just saying Heath Miller is more. Brock Bowers, you're expecting some explosion. Heath Miller was not he's like Kyle Rudolph.
He's better than
Kyle Rudolph.
Brock Bowers, I don't know, he reminds me a whole lot of a smaller Eric Ebron, but who knows?
Well.
I don't know. They seem a lot different.
The last pick we'll talk about here before diving into the NFC North for a little bit is Bo Nix at 12. Now, we mentioned before, Sean Payton had wanted Nix, it seems like, this entire time from the deal with the truce with the Vikings and the Raiders. He's been compared to Drew Brees multiple times.
Yeah, but you know why?
Yeah. He's been compared to Drew Brees multiple times. I personally, this absolutely screamed desperation. I think all the teams that went quarterback really, or the Vikings and Broncos, Raiders too, all desperate teams for a quarterback. That's why you saw 6 QBs go in the top 12. There, a lot of teams needed someone. They needed something to rely on for next season or to hope for. This one, though, to me, really felt like, okay, the Broncos are completely overdrafting a guy who was very, very good in college, but really no top-tier athleticism from Bo Nix, no traits that made you go, wow, this guy's special. There weren't a lot of games to me either that jumped out where I sat back and went, oh, Bo Nix is like a future star. What are you laughing at?
Zach wants to go home.
What's your deal, Zach?
I didn't do anything. I've been leaning over.
I see Zach just only to Bo Nix. But for real though,
I don't know. I worry you're being a little bit. So like, I agree that Bo Nix in a lot of circumstances may not be that guy. But if you're talking player to team and scheme fit, this is as good a situation as Bo Nix could have asked for, because as much as people are ragging on him, and I ultimately think he went too early, I've got some problems with it. This is as good a fit as you're going to get. What does Sean Payton want? Sean Payton wants a guy who's not particularly athletic, but can move when he needs to, who's accurate, who operates the system and takes care of the ball. And then you just design things around him to keep it going. And those kinds of players can be really successful. Right? They aren't necessarily the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but those are guys who can consistently, you can win with them. You can win through them and do pretty well. And if you're talking about that, Bo Nix is absolutely the chance to be that guy in Denver. Now you worry about what we saw at Auburn and why he suddenly got so much better when he entered a QB-friendly system in Oregon. But he's entering a QB-friendly system in the NFL too. Right, so, Bo Nix.
Ziggy, let me ask you: if you were the Broncos in this situation, 5 quarterbacks are off the board now. If you don't take Bo here and you trade back, even if you trade back, 5 picks, you might lose him. I mean,
yeah. So I think here's the thing to look at. Right, everyone in the NFL this year, it seems, came to the same conclusion, which is that there are 6 quarterbacks worth drafting, and then an absolutely massive cliff.
Yes.
And I mean, we saw it was the biggest gap between quarterbacks taken in NFL draft history. Is 137 picks between Bo Nix and Rattler.
Yeah.
So if you don't get Bo Nix, you are going to have to wait until the 5th round to get your quarterback.
And you probably don't even believe in him.
Yeah, no, it's you. That's if they think that Rattler could be that guy, or maybe they try the Joe Milton experience. Like, who knows? But so I understand why they did this. Right? And again, like if you complain that he benefited in a short pass, fast throw offense, that's what he's going to get in the NFL. So the hope is, and I can see why the Broncos think this, even if it's not my favorite pick, their hope is that he's just going to be able to continue that college momentum. I mean, look, as much as you want to rag the guy, he threw for 45 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. No, that's ridiculous.
He was great.
Bo Nix was awesome. I do feel that he was in a very, 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 very good situation for himself at Oregon.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Like he's playing against these slow Pac-12 corners. Oregon's offense has these track star, speedy receivers. They're wide open in the middle of the field 24/7. You go watch Bo Nix's highlights. Every single one of these passes, he has a receiver wide open middle of the field. Just go watch him. I've watched them. There's a speedy receiver wide open middle of the field taking on a slant and goes for 100 yards. I mean, who does Denver have? Cortland Sutton?
Yeah, no, the Denver situation. I mean, you have Sean Payton. That's what you really have in Denver.
Look, Bo Nix is a good quarterback. I think his ceiling is very low.
I think I agree with you in terms of how it'll actually work out. I don't think Bo Nix is going to work out, but I actually think it was a good move for Denver, even because I can be wrong. I've been wrong before on prospects. I'm usually wrong.
You're always wrong.
I'm always wrong. So
I'm always right.
So even though Bo Nix, I'm not expecting him to succeed in Denver. If I'm a Broncos fan, I am not. Like if we're rolling into the season with Zach Wilson, Jarrett Stidham, or Ben DiNucci, I mean, I'm not even turning on the TV next season. It is it's going to be a disaster. So I was okay going Bo Nix because this gives them some sort of hope. Like there's a world where Bo Nix is actually a solid NFL quarterback, maybe even a very good NFL quarterback, perhaps with Sean Payton. So I'm fine taking that swing because the alternative was literal wasting your time watching Denver Broncos football, and that couldn't be the case. So I actually think it was a good pick. Even though I'm very skeptical that it'll work out, but now I'm watching the game if I'm a Broncos fan.
It's an understandable pick, but it's just funny how the Broncos...
How boring would that game be watching it? My God.
It's just funny how the Broncos are paying another QB $40 million to not be on their team. Now their quarterback battle is Zach Wilson versus Bo Nix going in 2024.
I mean, that's not a battle, right?
That's not even
Bo Nix is starting day one, and you just hope that he lives up to the NFL ready moniker that a lot of people are hoping.
Could you imagine Sean Payton at training camp if they hadn't gotten a quarterback and he's sitting there just going like, oh, what?
All right, Zack sucks. Jarrett, you want to try it out, Jarrett?
Benny boy.
Ben?
Okay, so
Drew.
So we're okay given the situation with Bo Nix.
That team is so freaking bad.
Okay, we'll close out here. We'll close out today's show by hitting the teams that will get us all our views, which, we have to do it.
I mean, they're the teams we care about the most.
Oh, the teams we care about the most. And they're the teams we care about the most. And actually, I think the most interesting teams possibly in the league right now. Zach, real quick before we do the NFC North, do you want to say anything about the Dolphins? Like, is there anything about what we just said that you had wanted to chime in? We haven't heard
anything.
Haven't heard from Zach since his
anything you want
claim earlier.
No, absolutely not.
That's the best
Actually, we have people commenting in the comment section saying we want more from the guy behind the scenes. Zach walks in here,
but that's a perfect Zach part of the show. That's just amazing.
Oh yeah, no. I mean,
I don't blame him. Right, this Dolphins team got so much worse. They added basically nothing in the draft. They have zero cap space for the next 3 years. They owe Tua $10 trillion. No, like last year was their year, and they lost in the first round.
He wants to get you going.
I don't even know I know who we picked, but we picked some guy named Chop
Robinson.
Wait, Chop Robinson could have been Packers legend.
Could have been. I love how Zach comes in here. He's like, someone in the comment section today, he's gassing me up. And I was like, actually, he was. Someone's like, we need to hear more from the guy behind the camera.
Some guy named Chop.
We throw him his bone, and he's Zach.
You know why he's called Chop, right?
Yeah, he was pork chop when he was younger.
Yeah, because he was really big, but then he got shortened to Chop.
But then when because
he's not that. Because now it's funny because now he's incredibly undersized.
Yeah, like then when he lost his weight, they stopped calling him. They took the pork off and just became Chop.
That's awesome. So let's talk some NFC North football here. In our eyes, or at least Ziggy and I's, clear winners of the draft. I actually think across the board, all 4 teams had a really good NFL draft.
I can't wait.
Oh, please.
Same, Zach. Same.
Please.
For the NFC North to absolutely get stomped this year by everybody.
No, it's not going to happen. Like, this is the best division in football.
The Bears will
outside of maybe
the Bears are my number one loser. You know that?
Oh yeah, because you don't like Caleb. So let's start with Chicago here. We'll go through each of the teams. The Bears only 5 picks, but I look up and down. I think they did a really good job. Starting with Caleb Williams, we all knew that was going to be the pick. We know you don't like him, Jack, but if you're thinking about who the Bears have been, in 5 years we're going to look back and this is going to be the draft where it could have changed everything. This was the moment where it changed everything for the Bears. Culture matters in the NFL. Forever the Bears have been great defense, basically no offense, good at home in Soldier Field, but they're just never going to deliver. I think this actually is a point now where there's swagger on this Bears offense with Odunze and Caleb, who obviously the Bears didn't make it a secret. They wanted Rome by having him. He was working out with Caleb Williams. They were on jets together. I think that with those two guys coming in, joining Keenan Allen and DJ Moore, this Bears team for the first time, I think that they're going to come out next year and there's a chance that Bears offense is lighting it up, which we've never have seen from Chicago. Jay Cutler was good with Marshall and Alshon Jeffrey a bit, but this feels different. Would you guys agree with that?
Oh, there's a whole lot of reason to be hyped. Yeah, absolutely. And if Caleb is what he's cracked out to be and what people think he's going to be, then there's no reason to believe that they can't be very, very good. I do believe that we'll be debating shortly who is worse, Jamarcus Russell or Caleb Williams.
Yeah, for any Bears fan listening, Jack has hated Caleb Williams. The rest of Ziggy and I strongly disagree.
But look, if he hits the ceiling that everybody thinks he will, then there's reason to be super, super excited.
I mean, you are right that in 5 years we will be looking back at the draft that could have changed the Bears, and we will either decide that the Bears have some life and are doing pretty okay and finally found a quarterback, or they truly are the most cursed franchise in the entire NFL 100%. At the position.
If this is the one, if they miss on Caleb, where Mitch had tons of question marks, they've had Fields had question marks too. This was the number 1 overall pick, the unanimous number 1 overall pick since the time he stepped on a football field at Oklahoma. Before that, and if this one doesn't work out with the supporting cast that he has, then I think we're all going to sit back and go okay, these guys are never going to have anyone step in and be good. But they even got here in the 3rd round, Ziggy. They got your guy, who was it? The Yale kid, right? The offensive tackle.
Yeah, I told you.
They got a tackle from Yale.
No, but that was Ziggy's. This guy was Ziggy's surprise riser in the draft. Everyone's been talking about him. He's a project. What's his name? It's Kieran. What's
Karan?
Oh, Karan.
Amagaji.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Wait, say that again.
Karan Amagaji.
Yeah, that's excellent. Well done, Ziggy. Everyone knows I have trouble with pronunciation.
He played Ivy League football.
Yeah,
he was so freaking.
No, he was great. This is someone that a lot of people were talking about rising up the draft board, and Chicago there for those first 3 picks between those 3 dudes. If I'm a Bears fan, I am jacked up. I think that this is I walked out of this draft thinking the Bears are a wild card team next season.
I love the Roman Dunze or Donze. Yeah, Dunze pick. I like that a lot. On paper, this looks fantastic.
So, Ziggy, did you like a Dunze at 9 there? Now, some people thought they could have gone with any defensive player was available at this point still. But
it's solid though.
It is good.
The defense is solid, and importantly, we saw how the rest of the NFL saw these defensive players, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody was really excited about any of them. The fact that Latu was the first defensive edge to go tells me that nobody really saw anything super high in these guys, the cornerbacks even more. Taking a consensus top 10 prospect, a good wide receiver, who frankly you can't have enough of, I think it makes a world of sense. Because realistically, I get that the Bears have a decent, they've got some skill position players, but you do not. Do you think the Bengals felt bad when Joe Burrow in his 2nd year was able to step in with 3 great weapons?
No, not at all. And Dunze, what was he? 6'3", 215.
He complements it well. DJ Moore, I've been high on DJ Moore for a while, but you don't necessarily want him to be your number undisputed alpha. Keenan Allen is very good, but he gets hurt a lot.
And he's 30. He's 32.
Yeah, and let's imagine Keenan Allen gets hurt, right? Now here are your top 3 receivers: DJ Moore, Velus Jones, Dante Pettis. You needed a receiver. You had to take a Dunze.
Yeah, I thought it was a great pick, and I bet Caleb Williams had a say in this as well, because clearly the 2 of them have been hitting it off, Caleb and Odunze. So I bet that he had a little influence on this too, saying like, "Go get my guy."
I forgot to warn the Bears GM stay away from USC quarterbacks.
Yeah, no,
I hate USC.
You tried.
I hate USC quarterbacks. I don't like them at all.
You tried to warn him. This was I think this was an obvious success for the Bears, and Ryan Poles
on paper.
On paper, that's a great.
Yeah, you never know how it's going to go, right? But the Bears, there was a straightforward thing they should have done. They did it. That's not a guarantee with the Bears.
And I think it's just cool for the Bears fans that we know. They finally have some hope for offense, where the defense I think is always going to be good, and then they really did turn it up at the end of last season. But for the Bears to come into a year and be afraid a little bit of the Bears offense, that's not a feeling that we're familiar with as Vikings fans. And if Caleb gets going by middle of the season, they have is there a better trio of receivers? Like that's one of the best trios in the league that you could have right now. And DeAndre Swift's in the backfield. So good job for the Bears. We'll go on to the Vikings, our Minnesota Vikings. And I know Ziggy has some hot takes on the Vikings draft, but it really, the Vikings draft was round one with JJ McCarthy. They trade up again from 23 to go get Dallas Turner, the Alabama edge rusher. A lot of people thought might be the best defensive player in the draft. At least I know my dad did. And and this Vikings team now, who was searching for an identity after Kirk Cousins was gone. We knew it was going to be a quarterback. We know they loved Drake May. They tried to go up for him. To get JJ McCarthy without mortgaging the entire future, in my eyes, that was a huge, huge win. Would you agree with that, Ziggy?
I think they got punked moving up to 10, but yes. No, it was getting JJ McCarthy there. I said he was going to fall to 11. I think he would have fallen to 11. But regardless, they could have gotten nervous and traded up to 4 or 5 for him, and they just didn't. And they didn't have to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the huge win to me, was maintaining the first round pick next year, because next year the Vikings have 3 picks, I think, currently. They'll get compensatory picks for Cousins and Hunter probably in the 3rd round. But as of right now, they only have 3 picks next year. If you listen to, I saw someone tweeted at us our show and said, if you really zoom out at the Vikings first round this year, they got JJ McCarthy, Dallas Turner, a 6th round pick this year, and a 7th round pick this year with all their trades. They traded away, look at this, Jack. They traded away number 11, 2nd rounder this year, 2nd rounder next year, 3rd rounder next year, 4th rounder this year, 4th rounder next year, 2 5th rounders this year, and a 6th rounder this year. All of that for McCarthy, Dallas Turner, and the 6th and 7th round picks. That's a lot. That is a lot to give up. My counter to it is, if JJ McCarthy is good, no one cares. No one cares at all if McCarthy works out.
JJ McCarthy was my number 1 pick.
I was gonna say, I'm surprised that you weren't all over this, because you said you were taking him number. Like, you don't think the Vikings are
I knew that there was gonna be your winner, so I don't want to share the same winner as you. But I'm Minnesota winning the North now.
Yeah, there we go. That's what we want to hear on this show. But no, you like JJ McCarthy. Right?
I like him a lot.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I do.
No, and it's, again, I don't have any problem with the JJ McCarthy pick. The problem was, it seemed they thought the Patriots might be willing to play ball and trade it up to 23. That already wasn't great because it didn't work out. They weren't able to go up for May. And then packaging tons of future draft capital to get Dallas Turner, who, by all accounts, he's a good player, right? But we're not talking about a genuine elite. We're not talking about a generational or genuinely elite edge prospect, right? This isn't like Will Anderson last year. It's not like we're moving up from Myles Garrett. Mm-hmm. It's a good, not great prospect, and you're giving up so much to do it. I understand why.
Like, he could be great.
Of course he could be, right? But I'm just saying, like, it's not like we're moving up here for an elite prospect. We're moving up for one of the better edge prospects in this draft. Clearly, there's some dispute about who was the best. And the consensus was high on him. Fair enough. And if you assume that they were trading up for like the 7th, 8th, or 9th pick, then it makes more sense. But they got him at 17. And the reason they got him at 17 was because the rest of the NFL doesn't think he's all that good.
Well, no. Part of it, though, is that a lot of the NFL went crazy on offense. There was an insane run on quarterbacks. Like we just said it. Teams were desperate this year.
Yeah, but other teams were calling to trade up, right? The reason the Vikings got to move up is because they thought better than the team they traded with. Mm-hmm. And they thought better than every other team in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm very happy with Turner because in most of the time, I do think that he is a top 10, 12 selection. I just think this year was crazy where you had 13 dudes. I mean, 13 offensive players. It was a record. Went before any defensive player. So I was pretty happy with that. But one thing, that a lot of people are talking about with the Vikings right now is that they were the place to go for a rookie quarterback. People talked. I think McCarthy even
said that too.
Yeah, we've said that. Everyone said it. Everyone said between Jefferson, Addison, Aaron Jones, Hawkinson, like the Vikings offense, great offensive line, Kevin O'Connell. People are just saying that any rookie that goes in there is going to succeed. I actually want to pump the brakes on that. Like we've seen, there's no system. I mean, Shanahan's the closest it's been, but we've seen quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Like bad quarterbacks.
Hey, remember when that Trey Lance guy went to San Francisco?
Yeah, a bad quarterback. If you have a bad quarterback, your team is not going to be very good. Like that, at the end of the day, that's it. Now, the Vikings have a better situation around McCarthy than everyone, but ultimately, this team is going to end up on JJ McCarthy being someone who can complete basic concepts that O'Connell's going to, like O'Connell will draw people open. Can McCarthy make the throw? That's basically where we're at. And there's not a lot of tape on him. So ultimately it's on JJ to succeed from here. But yeah, I am thrilled that we have someone who seems very smart, seems like a great teammate, great hard worker. Just a matter of going out and doing it now, which is in question.
I think JJ McCarthy. Oh, go Ziggy.
I was going to say, I love the fit, right? What does JJ McCarthy do best? The answer is middle of the field time throws.
Yeah.
What does Kevin O'Connell want to do? Middle of the field time throws.
Yeah.
Yeah. I view JJ McCarthy a little bit like a better Bo Nix, where his elite game is shorter, more intermediate, middle of the field. But in that sense, he's very accurate. I think these types of weapons, especially a guy like Jordan Addison, who likes to run those kind of routes, Justin Jefferson, best receiver in football. I see it working out very well for JJ McCarthy.
McCarthy protects the ball too. I was really getting.
He's smart. Yeah, he's smart.
Yeah, I didn't like. Actually, good with his legs as well. I love how we're just going to keep hyping up JJ McCarthy on this show over the offseason. But I wasn't getting frustrated. But a lot of people were making fun of the Vikings for that pick. I mean, dude, Ziggy, I don't think I told you guys this yet, but I got the run of texts on my phone whenever the Vikings do something stupid is crazy. And for JJ McCarthy, I mean, I just had a list on my phone, every single one. Maybe one or two texts said, "Hey, congrats! Like love this guy." Every other one, dude, I'm so sorry about this. Oh my gosh, Vikings, what are you doing? Ha 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 ha. I was like, what are you guys? What is everyone talking about here? You want us to roll out Darnold and that's it for the future? Like we had to do this. A lot of people like this guy. It's a little bit of an overdraft, but
is it even that much? Like he's a polarizing prospect. A lot of people had him as number 3 or 4.
Yeah, I was very happy with it. And the fact that if we had traded up to 5 and sold the farm for McCarthy, then maybe we were sitting here going, okay, we could regret this. But even if he stinks, like you have to roll the dice at some point. So I was totally okay with it. And I think the Vikings are in a position where if McCarthy can come in at some point, or it's going to be Darnold to start the year, but with McCarthy there at some point in the season, I'm expecting him to play. Yeah, I think this team is close to a wild card contention again. But the defense needs to take some steps, and McCarthy needs to as well before that's a realistic conversation. All right, the team that everyone here is waiting to hear about. That's
and we close out with these books.
Well, we got one more.
The Lions too.
One more. But the team that everybody wants to hear.
The Detroit Lions.
Detroit Lions. Let's talk about the Lions.
Here comes all our comments.
We'll do a little bit about the Packers right now, and we had to listen from us right now. 11 picks. Now this feels like a Ziggy draft. So many throws at the dartboard.
It looks like a Ziggy draft,
but this was also a very Packer-esque draft in that not a lot of sexy picks. Like the Vikings, the Bears, they're taking Caleb Williams, JJ McCarthy. Like they're making big splash plays that are going to alter the franchise. The Packers, as they usually do, go about their business. They fill the holes on their roster. They address the needs. A lot of people are kind of questioning it in the moment. You saw the Lions fan mocking the Packers fan on draft night. Well, maybe the only time you ever get to see the Lions mock the Packers. But a lot of times the Packers are made fun of for their picks because people don't really know a lot about their prospects, and then they wind up working out. So safety, O-line, and linebacker were their big issues. 8 of their first 9 picks hit those positions. I think overall, I'm imagining, Ziggy, that you loved this draft for Green Bay.
I'm of two minds about this draft, actually. I would not say I love it. I do like, I'll say when we're starting out with the picks, I do like the Jordan Morgan pick. He's not playing tackle at the next level. His pass pro is tough and he can't move quickly. His arms are short. But what they're going to do is put him inside at guard, and he's going to be the run blocking monster they need to unlock Josh Jacobs. So, like, that's, I think, a perfectly fine pick. You know, I like the second level defense needs some work. So you take Edgerrin Cooper and Javon Bullard. Again, I worry about Cooper a little bit in terms of positional value, but he's a good player. Not a lot of complaints there. Marshawn Lloyd, I found really puzzling, actually. You know, Packers fans in the comments sort of all offseason been talking about how they're drafting Josh Jacobs to be that pass catching back that Aaron Jones could never be, right? But Marshawn Lloyd, like he's like the Aaron Jones replacement, I guess. He doesn't catch a lot of passes. He sort of just runs. But I don't know. Why are you signing Josh Jacobs to this kind of deal if you don't feel like Jacobs is going to be in there for the early downs? Otherwise, I don't know. There's, you know, Evan Williams is fine, I guess. There's those 6th and 7th round picks. Some of them will hit, some of them won't. But as you said, it's not a sexy draft, but the Packers don't need sexy. They've got the weapons. They've got the quarterback. What you need is a solid offensive line play. Hopefully they can improve the run blocking a little bit. Because the run blocking was good last year. The offense looked so much better. And when it wasn't good, you saw some disaster. And then the defense, you just hope that the new defensive coordinator fixes things. You can't spend another first-round pick on defense.
What do you think, Jack?
Yeah, so it's I have the same kind of takeaways. There's not too many team needs. I mean, they already addressed the big one with Xavier McKinney. Yeah, it's not a draft you look at up and down the board. It's like, oh, you know, this, like, you can easily say this is the worst draft in the NFC North, but I don't. They needed what they had to do. I do like these 3 rookie selections. That safety. Now you pair them up with Xavier McKinney as well.
That's a point that I wanted to talk about. Is a lot of people, when you talk about the NFC North draft grades, a lot of them you'll see the Packers are probably, unless if someone hates JJ McCarthy, then the Vikings are last. But a lot of people will have the Packers probably like a B or somewhere around there. And the other teams are, you know, B plus, sometimes A minus, A, whatever it might be for Lions, Bears, and Vikings. But that's just because of the exact reason we said that the Packers didn't go and do anything like unbelievable.
They didn't have to.
But they did. And that's the thing. That's what's great. Like, that's what the Packers fans will love about their team is they took care of what they had to. And ultimately, you know, last year they had Darnell Savage, Jonathan Owens, Rudy Ford were top 3 safeties on that team. None of them are back. That room is completely different now with McKinney. And then you got 3 safeties between Bullard, Evan Williams, and Oladapo out of Oregon State here. So I think Green Bay fans are sitting back saying, all right, like the team's ready to go. Really, is there another hole on this Packer team, Ziggy, that you're waiting to be addressed?
I mean,
off the top of your head, I know I'm kind of throwing you on the spot here.
I know.
Is there anything that jumps out to you? Like you're going to need the corners to step up again. You can't have Jair and Eric Stokes stink like they have been, you know, over the past.
Yeah, I mean, you worry about the secondary a little bit, right? But what the Packers' plan is this: they took a lot of players besides Morgan, the guard. They took a lot of players they're hoping will develop into useful guys for them. And otherwise, I think the offense you really have nothing to worry about. And on the defense, I think they're making the right choice to a certain extent. They brought in some relevant free agents, but you just have to hope that bringing in a new coach is going to help things out a little bit. You just can't keep investing every resource on that side of the ball when you've got a guy like Jordan Love, who you know that when you give him just a little bit of support, he's going to be really good.
That's what's so frustrating about Green Bay is that they've been investing everything on defense, but you know, their offense is what's really taken off lately. They keep nailing these later round offensive players to the point now where, yeah, you said I don't think there's any hole left on that offense. I think the offense is ready to go. And now it's just a matter of like there's a reason that after taking Morgan, 1, 2, 3, 4 of the next 5 picks were all defensive. So they do a great job. And if you go back and look at Packer drafts, you know, they're consistently nailing these later round selections. I think they're in a great spot here now to sit back and say, okay, Jeff Hafley, take these guys, a lot of really talented guys. We know how many former first round picks there are. Take them. If you could get the defense to top 10 level now, this is a definite Super Bowl contending team. You don't even have to be top 10.
And a draft like this too, especially by a franchise like Green Bay, it lets you know that they're exactly where they want to be and that they're ready to go.
Yeah.
And we just brought it up. The only offensive players they drafted besides Marshall Lloyd at USC were offensive linemen. Then you went linebacker, safety, corner. And it's exactly what they had to do.
And people even like Jacob Monk, the other offensive lineman they went with. They said he's a great backup prospect.
When you're taking your backup running back in round 3, you don't really need much.
I actually want to see. So before we move on to Detroit, one guy that I definitely want, and I look, I'm not going to lie, I don't know too much. I haven't done too much digging on Edgerrin Cooper, the linebacker out of A&M, but he's a faster linebacker, one of those guys now. And it's weird, college football. I was reading an article. It's just talking about college football linebackers. You don't really see a lot of the big bruisers anymore, like the Patrick Willis types or Brian Urlacher. I know I'm talking Hall of Famers here, but you see a lot more of these kind of smaller speed linebackers, and
Like Chop.
Yeah. And does it really translate? Who's the? I'm trying to remember. The Vikings just drafted someone out of Oklahoma. I can't remember his name. But like these guys who can just get all over the field. And Edgerrin Cooper seems to be one of those guys. A faster, smaller linebacker. But I want to see how, as a 45th pick is a pretty big investment in a player. I think he's someone to circle and say, like, okay, when we're looking at this rookie class, they put top 50 pick is a lot. I want to see how he fits into that defense, how Jeff Hafley's able to use him, because linebacker is another position group. After letting go or losing Campbell, now that's somewhere where in Green Bay, that group as well is going to have a focus on it throughout the season. Edgerrin Cooper is someone that I'm just going to be paying attention to. All the other picks, I love the Boyd pick. The Morgan pick, I had no idea what was going on, and it was fun to make fun of Green Bay in the moment, but I'm sure he'll be a Hall of Famer. So yeah, I'm sure he will be. People were saying they should have gone after DeJean or something, but I'm sure.
I mean, hey, a 6'5", 325 pound offensive tackle.
All right, so that'll take us to the last team of the show today, the Detroit Lions, who I actually thought had one of the picks of the first round. Really, I mean, the first 2 picks.
They traded up for their dude too.
They did, but and what a pick it was, because the Lions this whole offseason we've been talking about another disgustingly annoying situation as an NFC North fan, where the Lions are pretty complete across the board. That offense, no holes on the offense really. You could use another receiver, but then on defense, it's really the secondary that fell apart over the course of last season. And they've revamped that completely now with Carlton Davis Jr. coming in. And they trade up for Terry and Arnold. You see the number 1 or 2 cornerback in the draft fall. Detroit makes the move, I believe from 29 up to 24. Like I'm sitting here on draft night going, you gotta be kidding me. How the hell are they ending up with Terry and Arnold? And then they go and they get Ennis Rakestraw Jr., the corner from Missouri, another guy that a lot of people thought is a top 5 corner in this class. And you blink your eyes and all of a sudden now it's a completely revamped Detroit secondary, along with Brian Branch in the second at safety there. And now I don't know, between Green Bay and Detroit, I think it's gonna be a really fun race. We'll see how the rookies do in Chicago and Minnesota. But I absolutely loved what Detroit did in those first 2 picks.
So I'm going to go down here to their with the 7th round with Christian Mahogany out of Boston College. Is that round
210? I have no idea what that is.
So pick 210.
Let's just say a late pick.
Christian Mahogany and I he came to visit Marist College for a weekend, and we went undefeated in Pong at a pregame.
Really?
Christian Mahogany. So he was
he's your boy.
Thanks for the inside scouting, Jack.
And then what was funny is then I'll get back to actually talking about analyzing stuff. But with the Terry and Arnold pick, my good buddy who's a Lions fan, Alex, he placed a bet on FanDuel that pick number 29 will be a corner.
Really?
Yeah, because he's like, Lions are taking a corner for sure. It was like plus like 105.
Oh yeah. Okay.
He goes, pick 29 will be a cornerback, but he didn't bet the Lions pick. He bet pick 29.
Well, no one thought Terry and Arnold was going to be there at 24.
Yes. So they traded up, took a corner. He got hyped, then realized, shoot, it was the 29th pick. And then Dallas went and drafted like not a cornerback.
Gotcha.
But Arnold, arguably one of the top corners in the draft, and the Lions needed it.
Daniel Jeremiah, too, had Ennis Rakestraw Jr. as the number 32 prospect. He had a groin injury. A lot of the reasons people thought he might have fallen in the draft. So for Detroit to get 2 guys, I mean, not just for Jeremiah, not just top corner, but like number 32, that's a first rounder right there. To get 2 first round quality players at a position of need for Detroit, I
You
impressed.
worry about the injury history of Ray.
You do.
That's
You
why
do.
he's there. You worry about the size. But I actually think maybe the most interesting pick in the entire NFL draft belongs to the Lions. And it's a player that, even a lot of the media consensus big boards did not even have ranked. It's Giovanni Manu. I don't.
Oh, yeah. No. We're looking at the picks. We were trying.
I was guessing you were going to say Vaki out of Utah.
No, I mean, the thing about Manu that's so interesting is like he's an absolute nobody. He can't play football.
Huge.
He's really terrible at the position. Like he was second team All Canadian. The guy couldn't even be first team All Canadian in British Columbia. But I'll tell you what he is. He is an athlete. And at a certain point, when you get a guy who's 6'7", who's 350 pounds, who can move incredibly well, even though he doesn't have any technique, he's never had real coaching. I have no idea who the head coach at British Columbia is, but surely it's not a great.
I didn't know they had football
I'm surprised you don't.
Yeah.
I was looking at UBC. I'm like, what the heck is that?
I was like thinking of like UMBC, like, oh, Maryland, they've got one, but no, but I'll tell you, like, if the Lions have just said, like, we want guys we can develop, and they're thinking, it's worked out well in the past. They've got a good offensive line. If Manu's able to hit his potential, he will be one of the best tackles in the NFL. Now, does he hit that potential? Almost certainly not. But when you're talking about a fourth round pick, again, if this guy had gone to Alabama, he probably would have been a first rounder just because of the athletic ability. There's a lot to like about this pick.
But also, like, oh, there's a lot to like about that pick. I don't think. I'm sorry, Jack. Go ahead. I'll let you finish this.
I feel like you can like kind of stink, but if you're playing on the line at 6'8", 350, like it's tough to be bad.
I don't know. I mean, so these defensive linemen are so quick and so powerful.
Yeah, you know how massive that is, though.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. I mean,
that's like
the guy has any talent as a lineman.
I mean, this guy, like, he is. Besides, I actually went back and watched some game tape on this because I just want to know who the heck this guy was. And he's incredibly quick in space. But this showed up at his pro day testing, right? Like, this guy ran a 5.6 or a 5.06 40-yard dash at 6'7", 352. His shuttle times would have been among the best at the entire combine. He's good.
Yeah. I can't talk too much on Giovanni Manu. Personally, I haven't watched the tape on Giovanni Manu, but yeah, 6'8", 350 is something that everyone turns their head and looks at that guy when he walks in the room. So if he has any sort of offensive talent or offensive line talent, yeah, you're right. This guy, he could be good. It's always worth taking a gamble on these people later in the draft, in my opinion. But I'm sitting back here, Ziggy. I'm looking right now at the Lions defensive depth chart for the season, and no one's really talking about the Lions offseason. But right now, I mean, they went and got Reeder, they got Davenport, they brought in Davis, Arnold, they just drafted Rakestraw. I mean, this Lions defense, for the problems they had, they've completely addressed it. We put out a breakout clip recently on Detroit. It's one of the better off seasons in the league, in my opinion. They shored up their guys on the offensive side with Amon-Ra and Sewell. The odds right now are Detroit plus 140 to win the North, Green Bay plus 185, Bears plus 370, Vikings plus 750. I mean, I think this division is just absolutely.
Oh, you know where my value
Detroit's a problem. Like, Detroit is a problem. Packers fans are in the comment section saying, you guys, like, a couple of them are saying, what are you talking about here? Like, really, Detroit? This is a really good football team, and they're going to be a tough out.
They're the Alabama Lions now.
Alex has to be through the
he's through the roof. I mean, Terry and Arnold, Brian Branch, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jameson Williams. It's the Alabama Lions.
It's nuts. So right now, all right, we'll end with this. Given those odds right now, what's the best value pick in the NFC North to win the division? I'll say it one more time. Lions plus 140, Packers plus 185, Bears plus 370, Vikings plus 750. Like, Jack, I give you $100. Where are you putting your money?
Oh, 100?
Yeah, I give you $100.
Oh, the Vikings. Give me like
Jack the gambler.
Give me like 1,000. The Packers.
How about you, Ziggy? $100.
Well, look, here's the thing: the Packers own the Lions, the Packers own the Bears, the Packers own the Vikings. They're not going to own us next year, like in 2 years when JJ McCarthy's that guy. But next year, the Packers just seem to be peaking at the right time. They have a little more upside than the Lions. Plus 185 seems too good to be true.
Oh, I think it's going to be like such a. The Lions is the pick, actually. Everybody would take the pack. I think the Lions is probably the pick.
I would also put. Oh yeah, I think the Lions are the pick right now, plus 140. Man, I mean, that Packer Lion matchup this year is just going to be. But Ziggy is right. The Packers do seem to.
But if you give me like 500 grand and say put on one of these teams, I put on the Lions.
Well, yeah,
I don't want to bet any money on like.
But they're the best team in the division.
Yeah, I would probably. But who's the best quarterback in the division though?
Jared Goff.
Ooh.
All right, man.
All right. Yeah, I would put it on. I would put it on Detroit too right now because I think their defense.
I don't like Utah State QBs.
There we go. There we go. Now it comes out. All right. So there you have it. Right now, me and Jack are betting on the Lions. Ziggy is taking the Packers. Zach, do you care to weigh in here? Throw yourself on, Zach, one more time before we get out of here.
The Packers.
Crowd pleaser. All right, we'll be back on Thursday with more from the show. Thanks again for listening to the draft reaction. Good to have Jack back from Nashville alive, Ziggy back from Denver with a after a rousing speech. People said that it rivaled some of the great ones in history. So
take that shirt off.
Yeah, we got a text midway through.
Take that shirt off, Ziggy.
Ziggy, odds you take your shirt off. Completely ignored from Professor Ziegler.
How many views did that get? Millions, probably.
Millions. I mean, he'll be the Bachelor soon.
No one wants to see that.
That's
at 100K. That's at 100K.
Yeah, at 100K, Ziggy goes shirtless.
Okay.
That's it right
200K, you go pantsless, too.
Well, I mean, no one would know. He should be pantsless.
Then we'll lose the channel.
I can't wait for the promo for Ziggy on The Bachelor, and they just show Ziggy climbing into a hot tub. He's got just chilling out.
I might be tempted to join him in that hot tub.
Okay, let's end the show here. We'll see you on Thursday. Thanks for listening.